Let's begin this afternoon's event by offering its success to our Creator. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this info session that continues to strengthen the partnership between two organizations, the Asian Institute of Journalism and Communication and the Public Relations Society of the Philippines. Help us engage in a meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as professionals, and nurture the bonds of this community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that will positively affect us as individuals and drive truth, innovation, and progress in our country. Continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit for the greater glory of you and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lady Ochel Espinosa. I am the Regional Insights Director for Emerging Markets in Southeast Asia of ICENTIA, and I am a member of the Board of Trustees of the Public Relations Society of the Philippines and this year's chairperson of the Committee on Education. Today's info session aims to empower your PR and communications mastery through the first ever professional master's program in communication and the first to actually emphasize academe and industry partnership by the Asian Institute of Journalism and Communication and Public Relations Society of the Philippines. The Master in Communication, Major in Public Relations, and Corporate Communication will allow you to be mentored by PR gurus, practitioners, and stalwarts, and not only gain that knowledge, but make sure that the same prepares you how to apply it regardless of industry and boost your career. Today, you will meet academic leaders who continue to amplify why communication is such an important field. You will also listen in this second leg of our info sessions to another awesome and diverse panel of communication trailblazers in industries and sectors such as airlines, insurance, international NGOs, digital marketing and content creation, and of course, the government, who will try to actually answer the question, is a master's in communication worth it? Is our further study still relevant today? Or let's ask actually a different question. Do you love to craft and share messages? If so, please stay with us this afternoon, and may this actually be a great next step on your professional journey as you look to create content, then analyze the data so your brand or your organization resonates with your audience. To jumpstart this session, let's listen to the president of the Asian Institute of Journalism and Communication, Ms. Olivia Celeste Montesillo Villafuerte.
Hi, thank you. Welcome to you all on behalf of the Asia Institute of Journalism and Communications. We're so delighted that you have chosen to spend part of your day with us, and equally delighted to present to you our very unique graduate program. As you were told earlier, the first ever partnering of the academe and industry. This is the partnership of the Asia Institute of Journalism and Communication and the Public Relations Society of the Philippines, or the PRSP. AIJC has been, for the last 40 years, a center for knowledge management. AIJC has two other graduate programs, the Master of Arts in Communication and the Master of Arts in Journalism, two closely related but totally different graduate programs. With the ever-expanding digital world where credibility and authority have been called to fore, demands for a more specialized means of communication has become more evident. AIJC has seen the impetus for the academe to reach out to industry, to the professions, cross over and to forge a strong partnership in order to further promote and bring to life the theory, the concepts, the academic practices of what we may term as now tidal shifts in communications. Today, we have our panel of specialists, our panel of experts. You will hear how and why AIJC and PRSP have partnered to bring you the first ever professional graduate program of Master in Public Relations and Corporate Communication. So I do not wish to preempt these specialists, but before we proceed, let me tell you all about AIJC. So ladies and gentlemen, this is AIJC.
Opportunities,
competencies,
development,
growth,
flexible,
life-changing.
Attending graduate school has always been my plan, but the need to attend one felt stronger when I was 2 or 3 years into my work as a journalist for an alternative online news.
I decided to pursue graduate studies, not just for personal and professional growth, but also because I believe that by pursuing a graduate degree program, I would be able to expand my horizon and my opportunities.
I was in my late 20s when I became part of the graduate school program of the Asian Institute of Journalism and Communication.
What prompted me to enroll in AIJC was the need na yung magkaroon ng structure yung ginagawa naming video.
Early on, I already had an idea of AIJC having a balanced take on theoretical and pragmatic approaches.
I've learned about AIJC from my colleagues at work. I've heard some pretty good feedback from them. Seeing how they walk the talk made me pick AIJC as my first ever training center since I joined the DENR.
We were into science communication, but I kept reflecting these questions. Did we communicate enough to farmers? This motivated me to enroll in the graduate program of AIJC.
AIJC was really a home for me for several years. There was a robust collegial atmosphere.
In many ways, AIJC helped me in my career. Apart from the things that I have learned in school, I have also gained friends along the way.
Nakatulong yung training na yon para punuan yung need ko kung paano makakapagkwento ng mas maayos at mas maintindihan ng viewer yung gusto namin iparating.
So because of AIJC, I was recommended for a communication post at UNICEF, and that led me to over 20 years of professional work in communication for development.
AIJC is one of the few research-based organizations working collaboratively within the communication industry to creating programs and services that are grounded and attuned to both the analog and digital world, promoting communication for development.
It was that kind of commitment that really struck me as communication students, that they were willing to go out of their way to help young communication students like me back then.
The graduate program of AIJC has mentored me to improve my competencies in communication research, communication and development programming and management.
My most memorable experiences at AIJC would include our field work in the different communities where we conducted community immersion and at the same time conducted data gathering. I see that AIJC will continue to be a relevant institution, which I hope will continue to expand its horizons as it offers learning via distance mode.
As such, even before this so-called new normal, the institution has already been offering off-campus classes, online learning, and short courses and training.
In spite of the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, AIJC was quick to offer custom-fit training modules.
The training contributed to my growth, equipping me with the right skill.
My long stay in AIJC instilled in me a strong appreciation of a balanced take on theory and practice. This has stayed with me, and I apply it as an academician and a professor in communication.
It is a community that is very much grounded on the realities and the struggles of journalists and communications experts who are battling against disinformation and false narratives and against all forms of curtailment to our rights to freedom of expression and of the press.
I believe that the institution remains relevant and responsive to the changing needs of society.
I can highly recommend AIJC's trainings dahil nga karamihan sa kanilang trainers ay working professional and are considered experts in their field.
AIJC must continue educating, producing, and mentoring communicators.
So yes, AIJC is a big part of my life.
Padayon at patuloy po tayo sa paglaban para sa katotohanan.
Hello again. I'm back. On behalf of our President, Harold Geronimo, APR, the Board of Trustees and Advisors, and the entire Public Relations Society of the Philippines, along with our partners in the Asian Institute of Journalism and Communication, Chairman Mel Velarde, President Olivia Celeste Montesillo Villaferde, VP for Academics Dr. Paz Diaz, and Managing Director Christian Pura, we are happy to welcome you to this second leg of the information session of the first ever professional master's program in the country, the AIJC and PRSP offering the Master in Communication, major in Public Relations and Corporate Communication. PRSP banners its mission and vision to be one for truth, one for innovation, and one for progress, as this Master's in Communication will teach you conceptual and strategic skills in your careers. You'll become empowered to leverage those skills into engaging written and visual content for large audiences, potential customers and consumers, and work with research and data analysis. Alongside your peers in the PR and communications industry, and regardless of industry or sector, you'll learn how to strategize and evaluate the success of initiatives and campaigns. We believe that through continuing education, we will learn how to use existing technology and develop an aptitude for assessing new technology in the years to come. As you grow in your knowledge of what works in PR, marketing and communications, insights and research, data and analysis, creatives and visuals, digital and content creation, among many others, you'll become more discerning about new initiatives, products, and services. No matter your career path, a Master's in Communication will help you to cultivate curiosity of each person who encounters your messages, because while professional communication needs to be clean, it does not have to be uninteresting. So we leave you with this session to master your knowledge and experience and make great connections that will help you in the future. May this session be a fruitful and productive one for all of us. On behalf of PRSP, mabuhay!
Doubt and want, building bridges to the public, Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I have been called to build a better world, and I hope everyone on this call and everyone who will take our very new program will feel that call as well. So, thank you to AIJC President Olive Villafuerte. Thank you to PRSP Trustee Oshel Espinosa. And I just wanted to say, you might be wondering what that APR is. So APR stands for Accredited in Public Relations. It's a certification, a distinction given to those in PRSP who have gone through the accreditation process, which is a very stringent process. And it's given to those for competence, experience, and ethics. So it's something very aspirational. And for our PR practitioners who are on this call, it's something I would really say you must one day say, I would like to append APR to my own. So I am Ritzi Villarico-Ronquillo. I am an APR and an IABC Fellow. I am a member of the President's Council of PRSP as one of its past presidents. And I'm going to be your host this afternoon. But after hearing all these wonderful messages from both the IAJC and PRSP, I'd now like to have you listen to the program highlights. And the one to give us that would be the Vice President for Academics of the IAJC, Dr. Paz Diaz. Dr. Paz?
Hello, hello. Thank you, Ms. Ritzi. This will be a rundown of the contents of the course. Okay, the benefits of enrolling and finishing a master's program. Well, it prepares you for advanced careers that involve representing companies, individuals, politicians, organizations, and other entities in the public sphere, sharpens professional, written, and verbal communication skills, presents strategies for coordinating, assessing, and managing the public profiles of individuals, companies, and organizations, and exposes you to the varied facets of mass media and social media. Okay, AIJC has received approval from the Commission on Higher Education to launch the Master in Communication, Major in Public Relations and Corporate Communication program in 2021-2022. So we're launching it now. The newly approved program is the first professional master's program in communication and the first to emphasize academe-industry partnership. There you have it. It's a very precious piece of document, the government recognition number 036 series of 2021. So when people will ask you, yes, you will have an SO, which is a special order number from the CHED itself, meaning that you are a legitimate Master of Arts graduate. Okay, now for the courses, you will need 2 basic courses you have to undertake. These are 6 units that are required. You will notice the dates of the courses are already set there on the right side. So wala nang kawala. You have to take them on those dates. They have been agreed upon. The communication and related social science models and theories, strategic leadership and communication program development, management and evaluation. It emphasizes basic communication research, strategic communication objectives and message design, selection of media, development of materials, management of teams, and impact evaluation. Then communication audit, which is again 3 units, The communication audit is a process that companies go through in order to determine how good their communications are. Communication involves how a company or organization sends and receives information or shares it with varying audiences. So with these two, you're okay now with the basic courses to be delivered on those dates. Next, please. Then 9 units of required courses. The first one is Strategic Communication Program Management, again 3 units. Strategic Leadership and Communication Program Development, Management, and Evaluation, emphasizes basic communication research, strategic communication objectives and message design, selection of media, development of materials, and management of teams and impact evaluation. Then you have your stakeholder relations management, communication strategies and tools in establishing, sustaining, and enhancing relationship with the internal, namely governing board, stakeholders, and employees, and external, namely government, customers, suppliers, and the community stakeholders. So you notice we're going into 2023 already with course number 2 of the required courses. Course number 3 is Ethics, Media Laws, and Relevant Transnational Agreements, which cannot be, forsaken. Ethics is the system of principles that guides action, while the law establishes what can and cannot be done in given situations. An ethical lapse can erode public trust and in turn devalue the work of all PR practitioners. Therefore, ethics upholds personal, professional, and social and moral values. Ethics and law create a moral compass for navigating ethical dilemmas. The course features a survey of national laws and international agreements and protocols, which impact on the communication profession and its practice. So again, a subtotal of 9 units. So you have already 5 courses, 15 units. And the dates are there. You're working into 2023 now by then. Okay, next, please. Then you have electives. You will be allowed to take 6 units. You select any two of the following courses. So you can choose Managing Communication Research, Assessment, and Evaluation Programs, Social Media Management, Government Relations and Lobbying, Issues Management and Crisis Communication, Communication for Development, and Global Communication Environment. So a minimum of 2 from out of these 6 available courses. And then you have to have cognates, 6 units. So you select 2 out of any of these 3 courses: Business for Communication, Consumer Behavior and Change Communication, Identity, Brand, and Reputation Management. So again, a subtotal of 6 units. Those are the dates when these will be offered. Then after that, you go to your compre. The comprehensive exam measures your mastery of the concepts and competencies required by the program. Passing the comprehensive examination indicates that the student is ready to move into the final phase of the program, the writing and defense of a capstone project. So instead of a thesis, you have a capstone project, which culminates your experience, an opportunity to exhibit your knowledge and skills, you will present this to a panel or committee of experts, meaning a program or a project you have undertaken or that you are about to complete. Okay, it can be futuristic or it can be something you've done in the past, a successful program you've done. You will be given time to do it, quite a long time. You see, all those dates will be dedicated to writing the capstone project. For the fast writers, I don't know if we can schedule you ahead, but this is really for the longest writers, okay? After that, you graduate. You receive your MA degree. Next, please. Okay, this is something about PRSP and about AIJC. You can read this at leisure. We will post this, I guess, in YouTube or in some other form. Okay, these boilerplates are very important. Next, please. Okay, so that tells you what the program is about. I'll give you back to Ms. Ritzi-Ronquillo for the panel discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Paz. So it's like seeing down the road. Once you enroll, you really see where you can go, the content that you could possibly learn about. And I'd like to think that this will be more than just, theories. This is going to encapsulate also the experiences and the wisdom you have acquired in the years you have served in the profession. So just to stress that this is the first partnership between the academia and the professional association. So it offers a very unique opportunity actually, and gives you quite a head start. So for those who are enrolling in this time, then you will be in the first batch of graduates. You're going to be part of a milestone, not only of IABC, of PRSP and AIJC, but also especially of the PR profession here in the Philippines. So now let's see how this program can possibly be applied to diverse industries. And so we have assembled today a distinguished panel of professionals in different industries. Some of you might already even be in these industries, or maybe you are planning to get to the industries. So let's welcome our panelists. So thank you to them for making time this afternoon. So let's see, from government, we have Mr. Jose, or we call him June Villaret Jr. He's the Vice President of the Corporate Affairs Group of the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation, or PDIC. And then next, we have Ms. Giselle Kamwa, APR. She's the Vice President for Community Investment and Advocacy of PruLife UK. And perhaps, as I mentioned them, our IT support can be able to show their slide also, so we can get to know them better. And then from the airlines, we have Mr. Steve Dailisan, MC, spokesperson and country head of communication and public affairs of Philippines Air Asia Incorporated. There you saw June Villaret, you're seeing Giselle Kamwa, and now you're seeing Steve Dailisan of Philippines Air Asia Incorporated. And then next, that's not all, we have two more. So now from global NGOs, or nonprofits as they are called, Mr. David Rioferio, who's the Public Affairs Manager of World Vision Philippines. And finally, from the digital space and the digital marketing world that's really moving us today, we have Ai Ubaldo, who is the Digital Content and IMC Lead of UR Solutions Incorporated. So there we have our panel today. Good. Can we show all of our panelists today? To our IT support, could we show them all? Okay, so there you have them. and soon you'll see them live. All right. So I'd like to tell them actually thank you for accepting our invitation for the panel. And for our attendees today, if you have questions to our panelists, to ask them about the wisdom of the industry and how this will relate and be relevant to you today, then you can type in your questions in the chat box, and it will be monitored. And a little later, after we pose some questions to our panelists, we are going to read your questions to them. Okay, so feel free to ask the questions. Am I seeing a question? Yeah. All right. So I pose now the first question. Let me start off our discussion this afternoon. First, I think we have to understand their point of view, where they're coming from. And so in a nutshell, I'd like to request each of our panelists to please describe your respective fields and what your company does in the industry. So we have an idea of what is it you look at and do every day. So let's go by the listing that we have. So can we ask first June Villaret? June?
Yes, thank you, Ritzi. Thank you that you mentioned earlier the government. I come from a government agency, but more than that, we are part of the banking industry. So I belong to the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is the deposit insurer for all you depositors in banks. So our business is really ensuring that people are confident in the banking system. While our banking system is not free from failures, but there is a safety net, and that they continue to trust in banks despite failures. It's a tricky industry, it's a tricky sector, that you want people to be confident yet aware that there are risks. So basically that's what we do, and engaging with all the clients of PDIC and to some extent with the banks.
Thank you, June. So I think the things that I like picking up on the keywords. So the keywords is you want in their industry to instill confidence, right, in the banking industry, and yet be very aware of the risks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, June. We'll get back to you for the next question. And so we call on next Ms. Giselle Kamwa. Giselle?
Hi, Ritzi. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me this afternoon. I come from and represent the financial services industry, specifically the life insurance industry. PruLife UK is a life insurer in the Philippines. It's one of the leading life insurers, and we are in the business of protecting the lives of Filipinos. So I've been in PR and communications in the past several decades, I think. But my role currently in PruLife UK is related now to community investment and advocacy, which obviously is part of public relations. Thank you.
Thank you, Giselle. And yeah, we have two now from the banking and finance industry, and protecting lives. That's what foremost in what they do. Now we move on to Steve De Lisan from the airline industry naman.
Hi, Ritzi, and to my fellow speakers or members of the panel, good afternoon. I am from the airline industry. I represent Philippines Air Asia. We're doing business as Air Asia Philippines. So if ever you get to fly with us, our flight code is C2. So we are the world's best low-cost airline for 12 years and running. So we fly to a total of, here in the Philippines, we fly to a total of 16 domestic and 15 international destinations. But regionally, we operate to around 200 destinations. We are officially launched as the 4th Airline Operations Center under the Air Asia Group, or capital A, Berhad. Our biggest win, I would say, during the pandemic is our pivot to digital. We are more than just an airline now, so we are a digital travel and lifestyle platform under the Air Asia Super App Philippines. With Air Asia, I am the spokesperson and the head of communications and public affairs. But my background is a bit different because I'm also a licensed commercial pilot and at the same time as a former broadcast journalist. So there.
Thank you, Steve. Wow. So no wonder your photo was I think your photo on the slide is you're in a pilot uniform. So we really have somebody who knows it, who flies it, and who does work in the industry. So C2, your airline code, maybe that's your lucky code that we should remember. So see here, we're listening now to the what every company does, but see here, they're giving us a bigger picture. It's now the pivot to digital has made them now a lifestyle platform. So it's giving us a bigger picture. And so now we move on to a global NGO. So David Rioferio, David.
Hello, everyone. I'm David from World Vision. As Ma'am Ritzi said, it's a global Christian humanitarian organization, the largest in the world. We're present in almost 100 countries. We focus on improving the lives of children, their families, and communities. In the Philippines, we've been here for 65 years. We are partners with the private sector, government, civil society, church, and individuals in bringing children education, health and nutrition, child protection, disaster preparedness, response safety, livelihood, and spiritual development. As Public Affairs Manager of World Vision in the Philippines, I work with our National Director and teams like Operations, Resource Development, IMC Advocacy and Comms in building relationships and in communicating the things that we do. Previously, I was with PLDT and SMART doing CSR.
Thank you, David. What we're hearing now is that what you do is very holistic service, and you're also thinking about the next gen and the families that rear children. So that is something that we'd like to hear more about when we move on to the second question. All right, so last but not the least, we have from the digital space, Ai Valdo. Ai? I hope you're on, Ai.
Yes, I'm on.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So hi, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to the speakers, to our audience, and to our partners. So yes, my background is digital, but I think I'm very lucky to have really been, somewhat traditional also in my background. So my industry actually is IT, but what I do for the company is doing IMC. So so as an integrated marketing communicator, what I do is I work for companies like the Ad Standards Council. I actually just recently joined as managing editor for the Red Circle, which is an online publication of Team Asia as well, and other marketing innovations projects. But what we really do is we provide clients with what they specifically need now in terms of digital. So so this is more like project management on different platforms, insighting and trends, and so for me, what we do is we try to create ideas and put them on different platforms, and reach targeted audiences, and of course monitor and measure. I think that these are offshoots of how the industry is already right now, and that's where we're really trying to put ourselves in. Thanks.
Thank you, Ai. Now that we've heard what our 5 speakers do as what they do every day, and doing specialized fields of public relations and communication, brings me now to the second question. So from what you see in your industry, how do you think this master's program is going to be relevant to the professional growth and even professional careers and personal growth of PR practitioners, to its graduates? whether they work in your industry or maybe in others. Talking about what is this? What is that unique proposition that we think this program can help today, especially from the experience you've had and the depth and breadth of what you see today. So let's go reverse this time. Let's start with I.
Okay. Actually, when I was going through the questions, I really found this interesting. I think what we normally miss is that the main purpose of a master's program, as far as I can see, is really to put the, basically put the business into the practice. As in, you're not a student anymore, and you're presumably, have X number of years, experience in your work. So master is all about application to business. And beyond this, once you apply new skills, it's all about synthesizing and distilling. And these are things that you basically can do only with an amount of experience and expertise. So you learn what can be taken out, and learning to take skills into this level makes for better decision making. And if you have a business context, it's really about long-term and sustainable monitoring and measuring of initiatives. So I think that, aside from, of course, remaining relevant and of course, upskilling, I think this ability, to put into context using communications and using, skills in public relations, is what this program is gonna help, its students. And I think that in this day and age, it's the ability to discern, and it's the ability to create long-term problem solving skills that are necessary. And I think our profession is in a very, very good position to help here. I mean, in terms of, huge words like nation building and all that, but it is in the picture. So I think general skills would be critical and creative thinking in terms of, basic skills that you can now get your hands on. So that's my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayi. Very interesting. Later, I will want to know, and we will pose another question that will probe a little more into this thing that, especially in the world today of everybody being a publisher, correct? And there's so much going on in the digital space, and even in not in the digital space, it's everywhere. What exactly these specific, if you have any specific examples that you would like to share. So I'll get back to you on that as well as on the rest. But what we're hearing now is that this program is not just, I'm going to get a degree, but it's really more, I'm equipping myself to be discerning. I'm equipping myself to think critically. Yep. Very good points. Okay, let's go to Steve. Steve, what do you think?
Well, Ritzi, mine is I look at this as more of, well, it's an investment, a personal investment, getting a master's degree, but and also an advocacy for me, because it's when I took my master's in comms, it's a fulfillment of my promise to my alma mater and the taxpayers, to give back, to be able to teach. Back in the days when I was still a reporter for GMA 7. Well, I no longer pursue the PhD because I took my pilot training. But during the pandemic, my master's degree also helped me to land a job in comms and public affairs. So eventually, it's a big help. I look at it as investment, a form of a loan. But a loan meaning you get, of course, learning, and then there's opportunities there because there's growth in terms of salary, in terms of leadership position, and then it's definitely an achievement. And lastly, it's network So I look at it as a loan because you expand your network, you gain added learning. It's an added value actually to your professional growth. So that's how I look at getting a master's degree or the benefits of a master's degree.
Thank you, Steve. You have gone from one industry to another, and that's, I think, where you're coming from. I like in particular that you're looking at it and the breadth of it, how long term the breadth of it is going to work for a graduate of this program. So yeah, I thank you. And now let's go to David. David.
Hello, ma'am. Learning is constant. As Kaizen says, there should be continuous development. A postgraduate degree is becoming more and more important for humanitarian development practitioners, since there are some specializations that need to be explored given the complexity of some issues faced by communities nowadays, those that we serve. Pwedeng political, social, environmental, technological, and other aspects. Lagi silang nag-evolve. Research, for example, has new approaches. We need to know them as these things keep evolving as we explore new technology and updates in the field. Ang tingin ko po, natututo tayo sa dalawang paraan. Number one, through experience, no doubt about that. And number two, very important, through formal education, such as itong Master in Communication. Sa formal education, we enroll to a school, we learn the basic principles, scientific methods, widely accepted industry practices, updates, among others. Now, for humanitarian work, comms, PR is important as it deals with both art and science. So hindi lang siya, nung una pagdating ko sa World Vision, akala ko, sige, bigay ka lang ng bigay. Hindi pala ganun. You know, there's art and science to it para hindi mo masasaktan or magagawa ng harm yung mga taong tinutulungan mo. So merong higher studies that would provide us added knowledge on PR and comms practice, and more importantly, a better, if not broader, understanding of humanitarian and development work, which covers ito siya, heavily internal and corporate communications, risk and disaster communications, interpersonal and behavioral change comms, digital and traditional media, engagement, content advertising, and public relations, among others. So World Vision, or in this kind of humanitarian development sector, hindi ka lang nakikipag-usap sa mga beneficiaries mo, nakikipag-usap ka rin sa mga corporate partners, mga international and local partners. So ano siya, parang iba-ibang aspeto. And kung hindi ka equipped, 'di ba? Puro experience ka lang, wala kang balance ng balance ng formal education, medyo mahirap. Buti na lang, 'di ba? Meron din ang mga ibang mga experts diyan. So kahit halimbawa, kung wala akong MA, at least meron kaming team na nag-handle nun. Ganun po siya nakikita.
Thank you, David. You're really giving us a total picture of how humanitarian work and how developmental work should really be. So I think that's a very good point, that there has to be a balance between what you have experienced, the years on the field, years in the field and doing your research, plus some formal education that gives it a discipline, diba? Parang it puts it all together. So I remember from the sustainability work that I used to do, I would often hear from my team, they would look after they'd always say cohorts. And for me, at the time, it was a very strange word, but now I understand it. You're looking at the whole continuum. It's really a big picture that we're looking at. Are you noticing to our attendees today where this conversation's going? It's really giving us a view down the road. It's really looking at value addedness, expansion of what we need. So let's hear this time from Giselle. Giselle?
Thanks, Ritzi. I think what I learned in the past 2 years of this lockdown and the pandemic was actually, while handling corporate affairs, is the fact that you never have to really stop learning. Every day in the work of a PR practitioner, there's always something new to learn. And I
think we've kind of lost your audio, Giselle, but you're not on mute. So our IT team, could we do a double check? Okay, while we're checking on your, Giselle, if it's okay with you, I'll get back to you as we're checking on your audio. Let's go first to June. Share with us, June, what you think. Then we'll go back to Giselle. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. On the practical side, in government, you have to have a master's degree before you get promoted. So that's one very practical value of having a degree. But having a master's degree in communication is something else. To communicate to people, by the way, in government, you talk to both the clients, the grassroots, at the same time to banks, to your partners, and even to board members or in the international community. So it's important that you are skilled. You know what to communicate and how to communicate, and that makes you confident. And in the business of confidence building, it's very important that you look confident, you sound confident, and truly confident, because your audience would sense that if you're unsure, especially in our business where we want to assure people that everything is okay, is under control, you have to really know what you're talking about. And also, what I realized, I've been with the corporate affairs and spokesperson of PBIC for the past 10 years, is that communication used to be perceived as a support to operations. So whenever our operations will do something, hey, let's ask the communications team to help us. But now we're beginning to see communication as part of the strategy. That communication now is part and parcel of planning. Before you do things, you have to incorporate or consider already the communication strategies, especially these days when we have various platforms, various audiences, and so many ways to communicate, frontline, back end, or any all sides. You have to cover everything through communication, verbal and so forth. So it's important that not only to be confident, but also to be strategic. And a master's degree would definitely help you with that.
Thank you, June. Very good points. Yes. In particular, that point you're making, that communication is now part of the strategy. Indeed, for upstream management, I think most of us, or if not all of us in the industry, are going to really say that the companies and institutions that have made communication and PRs sit at the table and plan ahead of time. Only even at the whiff of an issue, usually get better solutions and are able to make sure no crisis happens because they are at that table early on, preventing anything untoward to happen. So
Right.
Good points. Yep, good points. So let's try now, Giselle, if her audio is okay. Can we try?
Hello.
There,
Am I?
go.
Yes, sorry. Sorry about that. My computer suddenly stopped.
It's all right.
Anyway,
No problem.
so as I was saying earlier, I think what I learned from the pandemic was about the need for upskilling and continued learning, because many institutions and organizations, especially during this time of the crisis, actually had to accelerate their transformation as an organization, as well as digital transformation. And what I learned about from that experience handling corporate affairs is that you had to learn PR 101 all again, from the foundational basics, meaning all of your you had to go back to your previous learnings. At the same time, you had to be attuned with the trends that are currently happening. So for instance, if you were a communicator at the time, and I think our colleagues here mentioned IMC, it had to be from traditional to digital to every single platform, and being able to do communications and have omnipresence in all of your channels. And with this course, I'm glad that we have such a course now for our young professionals as well as our colleagues, because during my time, I think we did not have such, we only had to rely on learning from our mentors like Ritzi here, who is my mentor in PR, and to have this opportunity to be in the company of cohorts or colleagues in the profession will provide a wealth of knowledge and sharing of experiences, which I think cannot happen without the typical classroom setup. So I commend AIJC and PRSP for actually setting this up. And I think professionals in the PR and the communications field should really take a good look at the curriculum and plan ahead for their learning journey to happen in the coming days.
Thank you, Giselle. Yeah, I think the pandemic has taught us a lot of things, is it not? For everyone here on the call, the pandemic has completely, sometimes changed completely what we've gone to be so used to. And I think this program is something that offers us more doors, more windows to fully open to us for our future in the profession. So, everyone was able to mention why they think this is relevant, this program. Now I'd like to ask you, could you specifically say what is that specific skill or ability that is vastly, urgently needed in your respective companies or industries that this program can definitely offer? So looking at all the course offerings, and by the way, at level of masters, this is already with analysis and case analysis, and this will be a good time to discuss with colleagues from different industries as well. So could each of our speakers think about exactly what is this urgently needed ability or skill? I know you've already begun mentioning it, but would you be able to give some examples, perhaps one or two examples? So perhaps June, you mentioned that that in your industry you have to instill confidence and get the eyes wide open. These are the risks. So, and you also said that you, aside from, of course, in government always requires higher learning. So you need to take additional. It's better to have additional degrees after your undergraduate. So you said that these skills will make you confident today, not only look confident, feel confident, but be truly confident. Ano kaya tong mga specific abilities or skill? Maybe one or two. Could you mention?
Well, I think you know what you're saying, therefore it's based on something empirical. So, we also do analytics. We check whether what people are using or tuning in. So therefore we know where to use. So it's not enough that you have a message, but you know what platform and what kind of audience you have to reach out. We have a very interesting case like we have during the pandemic, we have to reach out to certain people in Antique during lockdown, and we ourselves cannot leave our office. So we have to find a way to really communicate to them. And based on information that we have, again, radio, and that particular town has a person of that they listen to this person. So we have to be creative and strategic. Again, I will use the word strategic. I think it boils down to being strategic, using data and whatever resources you have to make your message, ensure your message to reach your audience. And again, when you touch people, when you inform the right people on the right time, then you expect good action from that. People express their thanks that we're able to know this, we're able to get the information, therefore we're able to act on it right away. So those are very crucial information that we also get, feedback that we get. And that makes us continue doing our job and loving it as well.
Thank you, June. So data, being strategic, and the audience. That's one aspect you mentioned, which I think is something that we will learn in this program because it will enable us to really segment our audience. We can have the most fancy programs with pizzazz, but if it's not meant for the right audience, then we may not achieve what we want. So then that builds our confidence when we are sure of who our audience is. June is from the finance, so let me backtrack to Giselle because she's also in the finance industry. Giselle, would you have any examples of specifics or some urgent abilities that you think this program can give practitioners in your industry? Giselle?
Well, during the pandemic, I think the biggest challenge for many of our industries were really adapting to be able to continue our business digitally. So in the insurance industry, for instance, PruLife UK was the first one to be 100% into digital selling. Our largest sales force, that was the first order of business of our company at that time. And because of that need, communications and PR had to adjust also to the skills that were required. So social media, for instance, I like the fact that this course has social media management because that was probably the first and foremost skill we had to learn about. I recently just finished a digital certification course also for digital marketing. And I realized there's so many aspects of digital marketing that I did not know about. And I'm glad that we have a course like this master's course that provides a holistic for foundational learning for practitioners. And secondly, it's all about also learning the trends and keeping abreast with what's happening globally. So there's, I think in one of the cognates mentioned, the global communication trends is part of the course. And that I think too is relevant, especially for MNCs and other global companies that have businesses in the Philippines. It's very important that we are able to adapt to the future of work, as they call it. And the future of work is like yesterday, where you are needed to be agile. In communication, there's such a thing as agile marketing and agile in communications. So being in this course will provide all of those basic foundational skills and a few more electives that will somehow hone your ability to be able to deliver your task and responsibilities for your organization.
Thanks, Giselle. Tungtungan na natin, you mentioned digital. Let's go to IE. So, what? para automatic na yun, a digital thing, IE. So, let's go, IE.
Yes, I agree with June and Giselle. What I can add though is communication is still a process. I think we've kind of removed that idea. You think that you sit down and then it's a spark or it's just an automatic churning, but it is a process. And this is a process where you have to trust it and love it, because when you proceed, it means that you've started at the basic, you've checked the aspects or the ingredients that go into it before you can go to the next and go to the next. And we heard it even when Dr. Diaz was talking about the course descriptions. First, you do this, then you do this, then you get this, and then this is done. And then you can choose, and then you can choose, and then you submit, you work and submit. So it is a process. It's not like a hodgepodge thing that will make a cake. I mean, you can make a cake, but it's probably not. So I think it's really that it's a process. And having a process means that you went through a certain system. And of course, it will have an outcome and a validation and a calibration. And again, it's a process. So it's really, it's a revolution. It's really going to be constantly growing, which is the relevance of education, keeping it alive and keeping it up to date. So I think that's mine. I mean, trusting the process gets you to be more confident to enter the world of disruption, which digital is encouraging or allowing, and allowing you to innovate or even pioneer, because without foundations, without procedurals, then you can't get to that. And again, I will emphasize this. For me, it's really the goal of proper or good communications and public relations is to really be more sustainable, more efficient, and long-term in problem solving. I think that at the end of the day, we communicate because we see something that probably needs celebration or correcting or developing further. And that's why we are in this business, we are in this industry, and that's why we're practitioners, we're communications practitioners. So that's my take.
Thank you, Ai. You mentioned about the process, and I think the process is actually like a journey unto itself. Speaking of a journey, let's ask Steve, because he constantly takes journeys. So we're now moving internationally. So Steve, and then next would be David. And then I'll ask the last question so that we can move on to our next part, which is call to action. How do I enroll? So Steve, from a travel and international point of view, what are the urgent skills that you see?
David mentioned earlier about the importance of experience plus a master's degree, and I think this program will definitely help you communicate better. And for sure, you'll be mentored by the experts in the field. That's why I laud PRSP and AIJC for partnering on this endeavor. I listened to Dr. Paz earlier. She mentioned about the subjects or the programs: identity, brand, and reputation management, crisis comms. That's very important to us in the airline industry, given our day-to-day operations. Siyempre, may mga delayed flights. You have yung mga nawawalan ng bagahe. Yung iba will instantly post something on social media. It's important that you be able to learn how to craft or communicate a content that is founded on empathy, truthfulness, and eventually, resolve a brewing crisis. So I think that's very important for communication practitioners, for PR practitioners in general, because I go back to the basics of communication, which is to get the message across. And for you to get the message across, dapat there's clarity. And I for sure, maraming matututunan yung mga communication practitioners when they enroll dito sa program na to.
Thank you, Steve. On the note of empathy, David, because you are in humanitarian work globally.
Ma'am Ritzi, when I entered World Vision, syempre excited ako, no? Dami kong ideas. And then when I have events, ang lagi kong sinasabi sa kanila or nire-request dun sa team namin, online management, sabi ko, sige, i-post nyo na sa Facebook. And then later on, sige, napopost nila. Habang tumatagal, nakikita ko, wala na yung mga post ko sa Facebook. Sabi ko, bakit nasaan na? And then pinalo nila ako, no? Tinap lang naman, sabi nila, David, hindi kasi ganun. Meron tayong, online management system na sinusunod. Ibig sabihin, this kinds of posts, dito mo lang ilalagay. Sa araw na to, 2 lang dapat. Kasi hindi mo lang binabantayan yung number of likes, kundi pati yung number of unlikes. Then later on, as I do online studies din, meron palang iba't ibang trend na nangyari ngayon. Halimbawa, sa Facebook, wala na dyan yung mga younger generation. Nandiyan na yung mga older millennials at saka yung mga older people. Kasi nga, yung mga younger millennials, ayaw nila nang nakikita sila ng mga ate or kuya nila, ng mga parents nila. So they now go to Instagram. IG naman, there you put your best foot forward. Then wala rin dyan yung mga super young millennials or yung mga Gen Zs. Kasi ayaw naman nila na pinapakita yung ginagawa nila. Gusto nila relax lang. YOLO lang. So nandun sila sa TikTok. Now, if you enroll in PRSP, AIJC na Master in Communication program, ito I think yung mga matututunan mo. Mas lalalim yung pag-intindi mo sa iba't ibang tools na ginagamit mo. And Oshel is an expert here. Halimbawa, in World Vision, when sa akin nung hindi pa ako masyadong marunong, sabi ko, sige, kapag madaming likes, madaming shares, madaming comments, that's so good. Okay na yan, magaling na yung programa natin. Pero hindi pala. International experts came to our office from Asia and other parts of the country, other parts of the world. Sabi nila, meron palang share of voice. So, alam ni Oshel yan. So, SOV. So, share of voice, imagine you have a pizza, 8 slices. If you say education, when you ask people, sasabihin nila, okay, 7 slices go to X organization, 1 slice goes to this organization. Ibig sabihin, doon sila kakilala. Doon yung kanilang nako-cover na topic. So, halimbawa, to cover SOV, to know SOV, you need to know your volume. The number of materials that you produce, whether it's video, audio, or written material. Number 2, yung reach. Hindi porket madami ka nang nirelease, madami ka nang marireach. So sometimes, meron kami mga case studies na nakikita na pinag-aaralan. Oh my gosh, ang dami nilang nilabas, like millions of counts sa volume ng sinulat nila, pero ang reach nila kakaunti. While the other organizations, ang onti nang nilabas nila na volume or PR material, halimbawa, pero ang laki ng reach. Then yung pangatlong punto nun is yung net tonality. Tama ba ako, Shell, net tonality? Halimbawa, dun sa mga nilabas mo na materials, yung mga nakabasa, ano yung positive, ano yung negative? Then positive minus negative, yun yung net tonality mo. Negative ba or positive ang tingin sa'yo ng mga tao? So ito, nag-open siya, it opens our eyes, di ba? Wide. Kasi nga, akala mo nung una, simple lang. Yung pala, akala ko nung una, when I studied communication, akala ko it's all letters, phrases, words, sentences. Pero hindi, there's a lot of numbers involved. Tulad ng sinabi ni Sir June kanina, communication is now an integral part of programming. For example, on SOV, di ba meron po tayong brigada, eskwela sa Department of Education. Ito yung every pasukan, we go to the schools, volunteers, we build the schools, we paint, we do carpentry work. We created sa World Vision yung brigada pagbasa naman. So lahat ng mga merong reading programs, you go to Yusek Umali, yung legal and partnerships undersecretary for DepEd, in partnership with World Vision. Sabi ko, sige na, trabahuhin na natin to para yung SOV natin for education, saktong-sakto. So doon sa technical work operations, gumagana na siya and then sinasabayan siya ng PR. Another one example is yung messaging. Akala ko dati, basta maganda lang ang pagkakasulat, merong rhyme or merong drama, okay na siya, pero hindi pala yun. Before we were thinking about transformed lives, before and after. That worked for a while. But then, as you know, yun nga, as data come in, hindi na pala transformed lives ang hinahanap ng mga tao sa amin. Our donors are now looking at our stories and asking, where are we here? Ano ang participation namin? Ganon nagtatransform. When you learn so much from experience and so much from expertise, mga formal education, nabubuo yung isang complex machine na well-oiled.
Thank you, David. Nako, that's the stuff that we communicators like to look at, especially every day. And whenever we want to know if we're on course, are we moving the needle? Has something changed for the better? Nako, yun ang mga hinahanap natin. So on that note, I'd now like to ask the question to everybody in the panel. Is there something you could share with us? Some parting words of wisdom, some short words of wisdom, perhaps a sound bite that you could leave us with. So let's go from, if I'm looking at our slide, let's start with Steve.
Well, when people ask me if it's really your childhood dream to become a pilot or to pursue a further education, I tell them no, because mahirap lang po kami. But it doesn't mean that it can't be done. So I'd like to leave this to all of our listeners, of our viewers today, that anything is possible for as long as you have good intentions for your family, the community that you serve, and most importantly for yourself, because it's also, syempre, you need to value yourself also. So as a parting shot, I'd like to say that it's never too late to dream big, reach the sky, and be with your stars. And in AirAsia, we have this never stop attitude. So never stop dreaming big, keep reaching the sky to be with your stars. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Not only a good heart, but also looking upwards for more growth and more good things to come around. So Steve, thank you. Ai?
Thank you, Ritzi. Maybe what I'd like to leave would be call to action. The essence of what we do is a bit lost when you just use the word journalist or communicator or a public relations practitioner. But if you really look at it in our language. We have words like ulat, sulat, manunulat. I mean, these are, reporter, writer, and this job, a manunulat, was really endowed with wisdom and trust, and perhaps my call to action would be, let's bring it back. Let's bring back the trust in the profession. Formal education will help, experience, moving it forward, sharing it. If you want the POGI points and the validation, you take your masters, you can actually teach, because if you want to teach in a CHED institution, you really need a master's degree in the profession that you're gonna be teaching. So I think get those POGI points, bring back the trust in the profession. I think that's what I'd like to leave behind.
Thank you, Ai. Ju?
Okay. I'm thinking about this since yesterday, and I think I'd like to relay that this field of PR and communication is not only ensuring that we meet our corporate objectives or targets, or deliver our services, or share our messages. It's really about people. It's about the people who we would like to reach out, the people who we would like to serve, the people who would like to touch. As we gain skills or finish a degree, we should not lose sight that we're doing all of this for people. And with that, you have the heart, and you will have that motivation to do what it takes to reach out to them.
Thank you, Jude. Giselle? Perhaps we could bring on Giselle a little later. Let's go to David first. David?
Thanks, Ma'am Ritzi. 3 things po. Number 1, merong obstacle sa lahat ng gagawin natin. Sabi ni Robert Kiyosaki, you will not always have the chance to work on your passions, but it's most important that you cling to your purpose. Robert did not want to write books, pero purpose niya yun sa buhay. So nagturo siya ng financial literacy. And then si Carlo Ople, kasama natin sa PRSP, meron siyang project 7 to 1. Ang sabi niya dito, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you build your career, whether you like it or not. 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., you build your dreams. Maging constant lang ba? Number 2, genuine learning. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Sabi ni Aristotle. I always tell my students in PLM, baliwala lahat yan, sabi ng Bernido couple who are Ramon Magsaysay awardees. Baliwala lahat ng talino mo kung hindi ka naman marunong makipagkapwa-tao, wala kang takot sa Diyos. So World Vision, sabi namin sa mga bata, sa mga staff namin, wala tayong pakialam kung sila ay may education, healthy, meron silang livelihood, pero kung wala silang values, wala silang spiritual development, sayang lahat yon. Tulad ng sabi ni Ma'am Ritzi kanina, to be an APR, we should strive for competence, experience, and ethics. Going to greater heights by enrolling in Masters in Communication dito sa AIJC and PRSP humbles us. We are PR, we are comms, we are the thread that connects. Build relationships, nurture them, don't break them. And my prayer for all of us, that we prosper as we fulfill our purposes.
Thank you, David. I like that purpose. And now, Giselle, I hope you can get on the call again.
Thank you.
There you go.
My last message, I guess, to everyone in this session and our future enrollees of the program is that for you to succeed in whatever endeavor or career path that you want to pursue, I think it's very essential that you have a learning or growth mindset, meaning you don't stay stagnant in your profession. You always find ways to be proactively learning new things every day, possibly. And therefore, that requires a huge investment of time and energy, not just only the tuition fee, of course, but it requires investment of time, because sometimes you don't have that liberty in the corporate world to really do a lot of these trainings, a lot of these HR programs, but you need to focus also on your own professional development. And I guess just as a parting message, in this pandemic, we've seen a lot of opportunities for learning that became available, even free courses from well-known universities. So please take advantage of that. It's probably the only time where we can take advantage of online, very reputable institutions that are offering learnings, whether it's in LinkedIn or in other Udemy portals that are now available. So please do consider that as an investment in your future, and also in your ability to be able to be a stronger performer in your organization.
Thank you, Giselle. Thank you to all our panelists today. We have a wealth of wisdom from all our panelists. Thank you for sharing with us not only your time, but your innermost thoughts and whatever it is you have acquired through your years of experience in the profession. And we wish you always the best, always. And so now that we have listened to the highlights of the master's program and its relevance today and the deep discussion we've had with our distinguished panel, the question is now, how can you sign up? How can you be part of this very first group of graduates of this program? So let's call back AIJC's Vice President for Academics, Dr. Paz Diaz. Dr. Paz?
Hello, everyone. Here I am again talking about requirements. Anyway, there has to be some kind of order because we're doing this under CHED, and therefore there are rules that we have to be aware of. Mode of teaching, we called it hybrid in the program that we have prepared, but it's actually going to be mostly, not just mostly, but totally by distance, because we will have students from as far as Mindanao, as far as Zamboanga, or as far up as Cagayan, and so on. So the mode of teaching will be by distance. There will be 5 Saturdays per course, but you have to stay from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It will be up to the professor how the 8 hours will be divided. I am sure the professor will not lecture the whole time. There will be activities and so on. So don't get ready to be bored. I doubt if it will be boring at all, because knowing who are going to handle your sessions, I'm sure you'll be flying all the time. Then mix of synchronous and asynchronous sessions, meaning there will be times during that Saturday when you will be together. There will be times when you will be in separate groups or individually working, and then you gather again. It will be quite interesting, I think. The plans, the lesson, in the old days, we used to call them lesson plans, but now we call it course outline. And I'm sure the course outlines are going to be exciting once we get them from your professors. You will all be provided with Microsoft 365 accounts, which is the MS Teams. That includes access to email, the MS Outlook, and productivity tools, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, in 1 GB storage within that account. The classroom platform will be Microsoft Teams. So it takes a little bit getting used to, but it's quite easy to manipulate, to navigate. Next, please. So you have to fill out the admission form. We can send you the student's kit where this is, where you can click on this. The admission form will take about 10 minutes to complete. Then you contact us for your panel interview. There will be panel interviews starting tomorrow. There are already, I think about 4 or 5 or even 6 who are lined up for the panel interview. It will not be cross-examination, but it will just be getting to know you. You might have personal questions and maybe the members of the panel. I'm sure Ms. O'Shell will be there, and our president also will ask about what you are going to, not really just major in, but maybe your capstone project, maybe what are your motivations and what are your expectations. So this will be given also your expectations to your professors, so that more or less they know what the students will be expecting from them. There will be AIJC-PRSP Education Committee deliberation on shortlisted participants or applicants. Sorry. Next, please. And then sending out of final reports and acceptance document. We have a first batch starting September 3, but if you prefer to be in the second batch, we will have a second batch. We will just prepare the schedule for that, because this will be an ongoing program, just like the other regular programs of AIJC. You have to pay a non-refundable reservation slot of 10,000 for the September intake, the deadline of which is August 10. But that is deductible from your tuition fee. So in other words, once you're accepted, that serves for your tuition fee. And then you have to submit your other requirements. May I have the next slide? The other requirements are found there. You have passed the panel interview. You have completed an undergraduate degree, of course. Transcript of records, evidence of high scholastic performance, B+ or better, and then 2 letters of recommendation from past professors and or current employers showing proof of your seriousness in taking up graduate studies and your commitment to the field of PR and corporate communication. So for the undergrad degree, if you've not really directly finished any PR or communication related course, there are other courses, and then if it's really BS in science or management that you've finished, you will be given a 1-week orientation course on PR, para everybody is on the same wavelength when September 3 occurs. So we'll have to do a lot of fixing and classifying applicants for this course for the next month, next 4 weeks or so. Okay. Is there some more? Or is that the last one? For transferees, if you've done your MA in another school, 75% of your number of units should be with AIJC. So 25% from the other school. But we will accredit whatever can be accredited, for the course. But since we only have 10 subjects or 10 courses, I think it will be quite easy, for you to get all the academic units done. Okay, next please. The panel interview will last for 30 to 45 minutes. There will be representatives from PRSP and AIJC. The goal of the panel interview is to get to know your plans, especially on the capstone project that you will undertake. And you will also be asked questions related to your profession and how the program can add value to your career roadmap. All interviews will be recorded for internal documentation purposes only. The timetable enrollment is ongoing. We're open now. First trimester will start September 3 and end on December 10. The class schedule will be every Saturday from 9 to 5. There will be one trimester will have 3 courses within it, no? Because take 5 Saturdays per course. So you'll have course 1, communication and related social science models and theories, from 3 September to 1 October. Then you have course 2, which is communication audit, from 8 October to 5 November. And then course 3, strategic communication program management, from 12 November to 10 December. And so on, as I think you have seen a while ago. The tuition fees, the fee for each course, meaning 3 units, is 15,000 pesos. So if you're taking 3 courses for that trimester, it will be 45,000. But there is a miscellaneous fee of 25,000 per trimester. So even if you're taking only 1 course, you will still pay 25,000. So probably to maximize, you better take all the 3 courses for that trimester to maximize your miscellaneous fee. And then for your capstone project, you will spend 40,000 with your with all the time dedicated to it, with a project advisor and a panel. Then you have a comprehensive exam fee of 4,000 and graduation fee and diploma of 8,000, totaling 262,000 for the entire program, for the entire Master of Arts degree. Okay, may I turn it over to Ms. Ritzi now?
Thank you, Dr. Paz. So there you have it, more information. I do not see any questions from our attendees today, but to remember all these details, there will be a student's kit sent to all those who are on the call. And in that student's kit, there will be the links where you can apply, you can enroll, and you can ask for more information about the course. So the course, about the program. The program has already begun accepting applicants.
Yes.
And September 3 is the start of classes. So we hope that this will be something that will be doable and pursuable for everybody who's on the call. So thank you, Dr. Paz. And so we'd now like to close our session. So I bring you back, Lady Oshel Espinosa. Lady Oshel.
Thank you, Ms. Ritzi, and thank you to all the attendees for today's session, and especially to all our panelists, Sir June, Ms. Giselle, Ai, Steve, and David. I'd like to close this session by asking again one question that I asked earlier today. Is a master's in communication worth it? And again, we pose to you this the question. Let's ask a different question, actually. Do you love to craft and share messages? And do you want to be a good storyteller? If the answer is yes, we're happy to have you on board in the first ever professional master's program with AIJC and PRSP's partnership. Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to you joining this degree. See you soon. We'll have more coming from the AIJC and PRSP partnership for a masterclass on what's ahead in this program. Again, thank you everyone. To Ms. Ritzi, thank you so much for having for joining us and in this session, and to everyone who contributed to this info session. Thank you very much, and a happy Friday.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank
Miss
you.
Ritzi
Thank you
and
for
David.
inviting
Thank
us.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for being here.
Bye-bye. Happy weekend, everybody.